Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to The Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Massachusetts.
Hi, and I'm Camille Barron. I'm a financial coordinator and a healthcare advisor also in Massachusetts. And Roberta, one of the trends that's happening with selling homes today is people are actually buying homes sight unseen. And today we're going to learn more about how that works.
Yes, and today we have as our guest, I'm very proud to introduce, this is my son, Jason. This is my youngest son, but he's got a business head unlike any others and always has, and he's got two new babies, one of which was born while we were taping our show back in April. But anyway, welcome, Jason. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Jason. I'm a licensed real estate broker in every state of New England. I've had my license since 2006 as a real estate broker. Before that, I was a salesperson. So there's two different types of agents. One's a salesperson that has to work for a broker, and the other's a real estate broker that has already been a salesperson for at least 2 years, and now they can work for themselves. So they're both real estate agents, but one's a salesperson that has to work for someone else, and one's a broker that can work for themselves. What I do is I have a flat fee listing company. So I list properties for sellers in the multiple listing service, which is the database that all the agents list properties in. And then I help them market it in the MLS. And then depending on what level of service they want, depends on the flat fee that I collect.
So how do you operate? What's your your business model, and how might it differ from others, particularly around today, how people are buying homes?
Well, a traditional real estate agent may charge you 5 to 6% of the sales price. They list it in the MLS. They may go to your property and host open houses. They may go and take photos, and then they usually split that commission with a buyer's agent. So if the buyer is represented by their own agent, then they split that commission in half. What I do is I list the property for a flat fee up front. It ranges anywhere from $400 to $1,000. And then they just offer the buyer's agency commission, which is typically 2.5% because it's half the normal commission. And then they only pay that commission if they actually sell it to someone who's represented by an agent. So if there is no buyer's agent involved, then they pay no commission. My companies never do a commission. I just get the one-time flat fee to list it. So they're essentially saving at least half of a normal commission and possibly all of the commission.
Do you find that with the coronavirus that your type of business is in demand more now than before?
Well, people want to save money no matter what the market conditions are. And no matter what, if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, they always want to save money. So I've seen an increase in my business practically every year for the last 15 years as more people become educated about the option. But in this time of coronavirus, they're looking to do stuff more online or do it yourself as well because they want less people in their house. So that, may give me a little spike for this year, at least.
Yeah. Well, we were talking, Camille and I were talking about how for me, it's different. Like I rent property and sometimes sell houses, and I've already rented 2 houses, high rent houses, without the people ever seeing it. One of them actually saw virtual, they call it virtual showings, and the other one did not see anything. And then now I find I'm renting apartments without the people coming in because they don't want the tenants don't want people in because of the coronavirus. And in a way, it's good, especially if somebody's sloppy and messy. So I found that more and more. So have you got any feedback on things like that? People buying without seeing?
Yeah, so I'm sure they're at least seeing photos of the property at a minimum, and then they may do a virtual tour on top of that, or a 3D tour, and then possibly even a live video tour where you could actually walk through with the seller or listing agent, via Zoom or Skype. So it's almost as if you're there. But yes, there's definitely a lack of wanting to go in person, although that's subsided a little bit in the beginning, not the last month or two, but in the height of the pandemic, there was basically no in-person showings, and it was all done video tour. Now what they do is they schedule basically every 15 minutes or so. They make people maybe wait outside if it's an open house. They make them disinfect before and after, maybe wear gloves and booties, masks, of course. So it's right now, it's more common. You'll see people actually going to properties, but it's still, that really spiked the demand for the virtual tour and the video tours. But at a minimum, I'm sure they're seeing the photos, and then they're maybe seeing a video tour as well.
And Roberta, is that the same situation with the rentals?
Well, one rental we had, and hopefully they don't watch, but we did get in, but the place was such a wreck, and the person doesn't realize or didn't care. So that particular person, of course, they didn't rent it, but the next person did, because we had old photos before the other people moved in. But a lot of times, if the outside is kept up good, they think that the inside will be kept up good. But it's kind of, it makes it, in a way it's easier, and in a way it's harder, because
I would also say, because people don't physically want to go there as much, they may be a little bit less, their standards of wanting to see stuff in person and inspect every little thing is probably lowered a bit, because they want to, if they're moving, they're probably wanting to get away from, if they're in a highly densely populated area, or, whatever the case may be, they have to move. So, in this market, they may just do it as opposed to holding off and trying to see it in person first.
Now,
I was going to say, with rentals, you have to give, I don't know if everybody does, we do, you give what's called a condition statement, and they can, when they move in, they can write down what's wrong with this or that. They have a chance. So it's not really that they're at anybody's mercy. So they have that. I don't know if every state is like that, but I know too, I was telling Camille, my friends in Arizona, we're in Massachusetts, she sold her house sight unseen, and that was pretty expensive, with an observatory in the back too.
Yeah.
So that was back in May, I think, and now I hear more of that.
So Jason, even though somebody may buy the house sight unseen, there would still be a property inspection before the deal is finalized, right?
Right, if that's one of the contingencies. Another contingency may be they actually just might need to physically visit the property before they actually sign a purchase agreement.
Yeah.
They've got it under offer. They've made, the terms have been accepted, but there's just one last contingency before they actually sign a purchase agreement and put down like an additional deposit, that they just have to visit it in person.
Yeah.
But inspection is part of it. Then right now, basically, they'll just give access to the building inspector. The less people in the properties is like the general rule right now. They just want as fewer people to be making contact with anybody or any, services as possible. So they'll let the building inspector in, and, they'll just take the results from the inspection. And then if they need to negotiate more, they'll do that.
And one of the things that comes to mind, Jason, is suppose in person, suppose the basement has had flooding problems in the past, and they might detect sort of a mildew or a certain smell because of that. But they wouldn't necessarily see that when they're looking at a video. So that to me suggests that maybe the inspector might be able to detect something that the buyer wouldn't sight unseen.
Right. Well, that would be part of the building inspector's job.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if, what the market is like right now or the pandemic, they're almost always going to do a building inspection. And I require all my sellers to submit a property condition disclosure. 99.9% of all my transactions are sales, not rentals. So when they list the property initially, they're filling out a property disclosure. They're required by law to disclose any material defects that are obvious. So if they're not sure of something or they don't know, then the building inspector should catch it.
Mhm.
What do they ever do about mold? Because mold is a touchy subject. From what I understand, talking to our local Board of Health agent, everybody has mold. Mold in the house, mold this. You're breathing it in. It's the degree. But I heard of one person who they bought the house and they found out it had a lot of mold. Not us, but the seller wouldn't do anything about it. This is after
Right.
they got the money, but it isn't. And, they said that the home inspection doesn't cover that. I would think it would.
So you mean that the home inspector missed it?
Yeah, I guess you could say that the home inspector missed it. Must have missed it.
Well, if the home inspector missed it, I believe they have an insurance policy where
Oh yeah, whatever
they're
happened with that?
responsible for the cost of remediating it. But it really depends on the level of mold there is. Usually it's in non-ventilated or not well ventilated places like an attic or basement, and then usually they'll just the inspector, if they find it, will just recommend how to cure it, add a vent, something like that. Have a mold remediation company come in, and then that may scare the buyer off and say, that's just not something I want to deal with. Or they may come to an agreement and say, before closing, you're required to provide proof that the mold has been, addressed. And they have to hire a professional remediation company and provide proof that it's been.
I don't think you're required to have a home inspection. I think the home inspections have come. It's a way that the buyers use to cut the price down more.
Typically, yes. But right now, because it's such a hot market and there's very low inventory and properties that are reasonably priced are under contract after the first weekend, a lot of now they're going to make the inspection just for informational purposes only, unless there's some structural or safety issues. Or if they basically agree they're not going to try to negotiate anything more if the cost of it is like less than $10,000, then they're basically waiving it.
Now we've had shows on, how to sell your house and how to prep, and, in different things, how to stage them. But what I'd like to get into, because it's because of the coronavirus, the people are selling more and more and more. Do you know where they're going to? I hear that they're going to other states where the taxes are better or this is better. What have you heard?
Well, they're going to more rural places
Mm.
and densely populated. So they're kind of leaving the city centers where it's more expensive anyway. And in New England, they're kind of leaving Boston and especially like New York City. They're leaving the city and going to like Vermont and Maine, and because they can still work their job in New York City, even if once a week, 2 hours each way, they can still do that. And the amount of money you're spending in the city for housing, you can basically get, maybe double, triple the space in, Vermont or like upstate Connecticut.
Where the people from California
out of the cities
are going?
and going to the rural areas.
People in California, I was just reading this yesterday, a lot of people are moving to Montana for that same reason. Yes.
Well, there's been and if I didn't mention, I'm also a broker in California as well. There's been an exodus from California for the last few years, well before this, pandemic, because the real estate, just the taxes in general are so high and the cost of living is so high. So they were leaving before this anyway.
Well, they got the fires and the mountain slides there too. The problem is you're there and you should come here. Although they say he's in San Diego, it's gorgeous there.
Mhm.
Laura's in Arizona. But they say, I haven't, Montana, they said, this the homesteading. One of our very first shows about
Right.
11 years ago was on homesteading. And, for our viewers, you go to a state and they offer you some land in return for you got to work it or you got to hire people. They still do that. But it says one of the best states is, well, Maine. I got it here, the top 5 states: North Carolina, West Virginia, Alaska, Wyoming, and Maine. And then they say one of the best states to live is still Florida, the ones with no state income tax. Why do you think they hang around in California? Because they have the high taxes, they have the mudslides and the fires.
Well, it's because the quality of life is so high here in most places in California. The weather, the beaches, the people, the attractions, it still outweighs a lot of other stuff.
That's funny. Why do you think they go to Alaska?
Got me there. I don't know why.
Well,
Although I
anyway,
think that's a no income tax state as well. So that could be.
Yeah,
Alaska-
it says here they pay no state income tax and no state sales tax.
yeah, I wonder how they.
And they may also get a stipend just for living there.
Oh, yeah.
Be born
Yeah,
in
that's right.
Alaska
It's a
or
permanent
just a
fund
resident.
dividend.
Yeah,
And
well-
$992 for 2020. It's paid to every Alaska resident who's lived there for a full year.
Okay. Yeah. How much was it?
Funny. I'm surprised New Hampshire.
$992 this year.
Right. Yeah.
New Hampshire has no state tax. No, they must have a sales tax, but I'm surprised.
New Hampshire, they have no income tax, but their property taxes are one of the highest in the
Oh, is
country.
that right? Oh,
Oh, and I understand
make
the
up for it.
estate tax is less. One of our clients, who Jason also knows, they took the uncle to New Hampshire to retire to avoid estate taxes. With the estate taxes, how are the estate taxes in California? You know about that?
I don't know right now, but I'm sure I'll find out soon.
Well, let's go back to the real estate then. What type of real estate do you think would go better? So the people in the suburbs, they're selling their houses. Where are they going? Further or to another state? See, I think they're going to other states.
Well, the people in the suburbs, there's such a high demand. Some of them didn't think of listing their properties until this because they can get top dollar right now. So they may have already had plans, potentially to move somewhere. And right now you can practically move anywhere because everything is done online. So you don't have to be in a physical spot. Also, typically the real estate cycle would be based on the school year. So they would want to be, somewhere by September. And right now that doesn't really make a difference because most of the schooling is done at home. So it's really extended the selling season probably by a couple months.
Well, that's fascinating. What do you give a packet out, like when they list your property, as to how to best market their home? Because people are always.
Well, I do have a set of guides that they can download right from the site. But in general, the best way to market your home is to put it on the MLS, because then you get maximum exposure and you're on all the top sites like Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, any real.
Everybody knows MLS, but what does it stand for?
Multiple listing service.
Yeah, I know that. But what are some of the good points in marketing their home? You tell them to get rid of your clutter or get rid of this or
yeah, you want to prepare your house for it to be shown. So yeah, you want to declutter. You want to clean. You want to put away personal stuff. Well, during showings at least, remove any valuables. But a professional photographer isn't a bad idea, especially if it's a higher price product. But right now the market's so hot. If you just put it on and it's reasonably priced, you have some decent photos, then there's going to be a high demand for it. So
So
Did
there's
you
not as
know?
much negotiating between a seller and a buyer as much as typically would be be the case in the past?
Well, right now, if it's reasonably priced, they're probably going to get multiple offers.
Hmm.
And then usually what the strategy is, you tell everyone that has submitted an offer, we've received multiple offers, please come back with your highest and best offer. And then some may, increase, some may say that's already our highest offer, and then you can kind of focus on one. But, a lot of them are going above list price.
Yeah.
So in some cases, the seller doesn't have to do much negotiating. They're just taking the highest offer.
Boy.
Hmm.
How about title insurance? Is that something that they all still get?
Yeah, well, in New England states, the buyer chooses the title insurance and pays for it. So I work all with sellers. So unless the seller is going to pay for the title insurance, which they never do or are offered to do, I don't have any, dealings with that. But yeah, they're always required to have title insurance for the lender, no matter what, if they're having financing, and then it's recommended you get for the owner.
Are there any states that you deal with have something unusual about them that the others don't?
Mm-hmm. Well, in general, New England is an attorney state where the attorneys handle the purchases and coordinate the closings. Almost every other state in the country is done through a title company and escrow company. So New England's still a little bit unique in that, if you think about it in that regard. But
All 6 states in New England?
What's that?
All 6 states in New England are that way?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine doing
from
without an attorney.
the way it used to be done in like England or something. So it's, the New England states obviously took it from there, and then as the new states came on, they started doing things in a different way. Now it's just kind of down to tradition.
Mm-hmm.
It may eventually change, decades.
What do they do like for side agreements? Like you're supposed to do this before we pass, or do that before we pass, or you're supposed to come up with the money here or there. They don't have any side agreements like that they would need an attorney for?
Well, those are all contingencies that are spelled out in the purchase agreement. And as each contingency is met, then they get closer to closing. So the only side agreements would be for like personal property, technically.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to sell them, their furniture or the snow blower, that would be a side agreement that doesn't even have to go through the attorneys.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. It's amazing how much the technology changes a lot of the transactions that we used to do and still do, but we do in a different way.
Yeah, one thing we ran into too, like if you own a piece of property in another state, that you have to pay taxes to that other state, even if you're not a resident. That's kind of a surprise.
Sure about that, but I do know in many of the states, if you own the property and you sell it, but you're not a full-time resident of that state, then you have to pay extra taxes.
Yeah.
From when you sell.
Yeah.
Which can be a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people aren't aware of that.
Huh?
Yeah, some sellers aren't aware of that until they go to closing. They see the settlement.
We weren't aware of it until 2 years after closing, when when there was a, hey, surprise. What happened to the lawyer? Oh, he's in jail now. Not the one in the other state. So those things happen, even to professionals that have been around a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I usually don't get stuck, but every now and then that's the thing. You shouldn't become too trusting. As long as you go with your head, not your heart.
Exactly. True. Trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got to tell a funny story. When I got married, I wasn't as young as a lot of people were, but when I got married, I went with my head I went and I introduced my future husband to people that I trusted very much. And depending upon what they said was whether or not I would marry them or not. Thank God they all loved them.
Oh, that's a good thing. Otherwise, Jason wouldn't be here today.
Yeah,
Right.
50, was it 51 years later, and well, I got married when I was 12. I married an older man, and he already had children. And thank God they
Oh, I
looked like
see.
him. Well,
Yeah, true. I can see that.
anyway, I think we're moving along. I have no idea how much time we have, but
Oh, we have like 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes left.
oh, isn't that wonderful? We're keeping
Yes.
it in.
Okay.
Your babies around, Jason? This is not.
I think I hear them actually.
Oh, call them in.
Oh.
Let the people see them. We got a
Here's
moment.
well, the oldest, Parker, the 2-year-old,
Yeah.
is at daycare right now.
Yeah, but the little one, little Beau.
And the
Little
little one
Beau.
is in the other
I
room.
have,
I
in
think.
fact, I have a whole resource of everything to take up, and in the middle I have babies. Is there any last thing you wanted to say or ask, Camille? Because you had a lot of questions here. You
Yeah,
know,
no, I think Jason has explained it all very well.
you got to work with the right agent, of course. They should take advantage of the technology. What about a floor plan? They should make up a floor plan. Oh, do you think they should order an appraisal and a home inspection before they list it?
It's probably not a bad idea if you're a seller to get your home inspected, so that you know if there's going to be any issues that arise. Oh, look who it is.
Oh,
Oh my God.
oh, look.
This is Beau.
This is
This is
Jason's
Alex
beautiful
and
wife.
gorgeous wife. Take the binky out so everyone can see. His first, no. Oh, look at him. You think I'm
Aw.
prejudiced? Is that beautiful? The other one looks just like him. This is the younger one. I think we have to, I don't know if we have to wind up or not. It's not funny. I usually know the time, but it's so wonderful. This is a subject. Also, Jason's wife, Alex, has just recently added 2 pictures to one of our police officers, our friends' books for Andover. They have a thing called bullying, and they have these pet horses, the little pony horses that they use for anti-bullying, and she did a split page for us.
We're
These
so
talents.
fortunate to have our own in-house artist, and she's excellent at it too.
Yeah, she designed our business cards too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we got all these kids, and Laura got 8 kids. Jonathan I got 12 grandchildren, so we never run out of guests.
Yes, yes. Well, I think it's time to wrap up.
Oh, okay.
Jason.
Camille always wraps
Jason,
up.
it's so great to see you, and we learned a lot today. Thank you so much for being here.
Wait, what does your hat say?
It's the entryonly.com logo.
Well,
So if you want to learn more about us, just go to entryonly.com, and everything is done 100% online.
Great.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's been at it for years. Okay, and it's all in Camille's wonderful hands now.
So thank you, viewers, for watching. Some of these things that are happening today are very different than the way they were before. Some new trends, and this is an example of one of them. We thank you very much for watching, and remember to let us know if you have any questions or any other topics you think would be relevant, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money,
and you. Thank you, Jason, for coming on. Thanks for bringing in the babies, and thank you, Camille.
And you.
And thank you, Sharon TV. I think that's it.